Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to today's video. So what I have in front of us today is a Obi-Wan Kenobi, A New Hope, Chronicles style hero. Now this is a Dave Parkin Chronicles style Obi-Wan, and I received it as clean, unweathered, and I did all the weathering and the modifications to it. So we're going to be going over the modifications I've done and what makes this accurate to the prop. So yeah, I bought this secondhand, and a gentleman was selling this on the Facebook groups in RPF, and I was eyeing it up for a while, deciding if I wanted to grab it or not. Didn't really have the funds, and then finally it came down a little bit in price, and I was able to grab it. And I just want to say this build definitely helped my abilities in terms of weathering and what I can do. I bought some products to weather this based on other people's doings and what they found. And, obviously some of the stuff is different on this probably compared to others you've seen in terms of the weathering and additional modifications. But I just want to go over that today and show you how my rendition or my iteration of the Chronicle style Obi-Wan turned out. But this is the Chronicles. There's only 2 photos of it, and it's from the Chronicles book. It's not confirmed if this prop was actually used by Alec Guinness or Obi-Wan in the movie, but there's only a few photos of the Tunisia version of the Obi-Wan hero as well as the Death Star, but there's a RPF forum explaining that in better detail, because people believe there's actually 2 of the Obi-Wan hilts, but this isn't confirmed to be in the movie, but it's just a style and iteration that is out there for us to build. So let's get to it. So what we have, like I said, all these components, most of them are steel. Obviously the grenade section is brass. This was steel. The grenade is steel. The clamp is actually steel. And the booster is steel. And this is chrome plated plastic for the sync knob. So yeah, just a little detail. So let's start off in the front. So like I said, when I received this hilt, it was unweathered, untouched, and it was clean. So what I did was I added some markings on the balance pipe, and you can see those little dimples in it, and I used a hammer and chisel and replicated some of the markings on the balance pipe. And then most of the weathering on this, like this, is paint. I just painted it black and knocked it down with some steel wool and sandpaper to imitate how the balance pipes look. And you have the marking here on the lip of the balance pipe. And then these exhaust ports I imitated, it was deposit, so it's just painted black and knocked down. It was flat black. And stepping down from that section of the balance pipe, I have the markings on the balance pipe here and a little there, like the prop. I tried to imitate the best of my ability. And as well as this section of the balance pipe, I tried to imitate the markings that the Chronicle style had. And then stepping down from the balance pipe, I did the welds that we can see in the reference photos. Now all I did was JB weld with some silver acrylic brush on paint to imitate a weld. I think it turned out great. And then I kept this area more clean on the neck, but then I did brass black on the wind vane, and I made it more dark towards the bottom because on the Dave P, this unscrews from the grenade, so this whole section is one piece, and it bolts to the balance pipe with the nut. But yeah, so this obviously free spins, but to get it accurate, you want the one port lined up in between like these marks. But I got these markings on the wind vane, and then there's one section that has a dip in it here, and yeah, that free spins. But if you go around, I actually put some paint on this section of the wind vane, like, because when the reference photo is this, it's like opposite, so one section was darkened and the other side was clean, so I tried to imitate that. And then, so this was kind of a process, guys. The grenade, so obviously it was steel, when I got it, so it was, you know, clean steel. It wasn't rusted, and I wanted to go with a rusting effect. So I first I did the markings, some like machine marks, I guess, or tooling marks, hammer and chisel on it, and I went through and sprayed it with vinegar and let it sit outside for a while to try to rust. And it was nice, but it was overly rusted. And then when I got I sanded down the face of it and kept the rust in the crevices. And then I did a blackening liquid. And then I just made the rust like white. It went like pure white for some reason. I'm like, that's not supposed to happen. And then so I more or less cleaned that up and with a wire brush, so there was no rust in the grooves. And then I blued it. And with the bluing process, they want you to use cold water. So I would blue it for, you know, let it sit for a minute and wash it, and then it would rust instantly in between the grooves. I'm like, man, this is pretty complicated. So what I ended up doing is I just blued the whole, like I wire brushed out the groove so that more or less there wasn't any rust in between. And I blued it again to make it darker because it wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be. And then I would, instead of using water, I would hand dry it with a towel so it didn't rust again. And then what I did was I ended up just using some Tamiyan rust paint in between the grooves and whatnot. And then I matte cleared over it so it holds. And actually I did that first, and then I matte cleared it where the rust in between the grooves, and then the color went away and it turned more bronze. So then I reapplied the rust again in between the grooves, and I just left it so it's clear coated, but then I put another coat over it to darken it because it turned more of a bronze. It wasn't the color I wanted. So, but yeah, so natural rust was way too heavy. Then I knocked it back and then pretty much used paint to weather it. So just to let you guys know what I did there. And then stepping down to the clamp. Now this is like I said, all these parts are Dave Parkin besides the transistors, because when I got it, the Dave Parkin transistors were nut and bolted to the clamp, and then upon removal, I don't know if they were thread locked on, I could not get them off. Like try holding the transistor and using a wrench for the nut, and it would just free spin. So I had to get the transistors out. By the time I got them out, the stamping was wiped right off, so I had to get some Roman props transistors. And yeah, so I was waiting on that for a little bit to come in, but no big deal. And just something I came by on this, the Dave Parkin tape is way too glossy compared to how the HVAC tape should be. So what I did was I actually knocked it back with steel wool to kind of reduce the shine. But then when I matte cleared it, it gave it kind of like a frosting effect, so it made it more dull, which I really liked. So I kept that finish on it, and then obviously that was before I put the transistors on. And yeah, so you can see like the chrome tape was pretty much the same shine as the clamp itself, if not shinier. So knocking that back down makes it definitely look better in my opinion. And then also on the bubble strip with that matte clear, it kind of imitated a frosting effect like the prop had. So that's just one thing to take note. And you can see that the orientation of the bubble strip is correct. So there's more of a length on the bottom than the top in terms of the length of the bubble strip. And then this lever, actually that is real rust. I did try to rust the clamp, and it actually is, you can see some rust, some areas aren't as rusty as others. I'm going to try to see if it naturally rusts on its own. But yeah, that's one thing to note, is that is actual rust on the lever. Turned out great. It's a vinegar mixture. Like I did on the rest of the steel parts. And then when you receive the clamp from Dave, if you did the DIY kit, because that's what this was, the clamp nothing was done to it. So you have to apply the tape. You have to drill the holes for the brass screws and the cotter pins. So the first thing I did was drilled the holes at the countersink, and I actually just chopped the screws down so they were flush, so there wasn't any threads out, and then I just E6000 them in place. And the transistors are E6000 in place. I cut the rod off because it just wouldn't work, so I just E6000 in place. And then the orientation of these are correct. This one's kind of at a 1 o'clock position, and this one's a little cocked, but more or less at like the 6 o'clock position in terms of the M. So that's another accuracy detail. And then for the clamp, I kind of tried to weather the finish down with some paint to reduce the shine because it was very shiny. And yeah, so you can see the rust on the clamp. That's natural rust. And you can see how it's kind of, the tape is kind of wore. It's perfect in my opinion. And you know, you got your one marking here. I freehanded all this with a Dremel, take note, so it's kind of a pain. So and then I got that weathering mark as well as on this side with the brass screw and the cotter pin there. And yeah, and then the tape obviously on this side too. So it turned out great, I thought. And then I got the cotter pins in place with that one kind of up against the groove on the booster, and then that one just kind of straight and kind of cocked a little bit. And then yeah, so that was a lot of work in the clamp area itself to imitate the Chronicle style. So it was tedious, but I enjoyed it. Just to get it where I wanted it to be just took some time because I'm very particular on how I want it to look to match the prop. So, and then stepping down, we got the booster. Now I did add a little bit of a weld per se on the booster. You can see on that fin there is a little bit of a weld because the prop had, or the Chronicle style picture had a little weld there, so I tried to imitate that and have some teeth marks throughout on the booster. And then I'm trying to just get all the details there on the booster itself, and clocked in the right position, as well as the pommel is too. Sorry, I gotta kind of turn it. Try to get a good angle of the pommel. Yep. So yeah, same thing with the grenade. It rusted way too heavy, knocked it down with the wire brush, blued it, and then added paint and then matte clear over it. So it gave it a nice rusting effect, more of a natural look. The rust I was achieving, the real rust, it was way too rusty. So that is one thing to note, is that the booster and the grenade are actually painted and cleared over to seal in the paint. Real rust on the lever and whatnot. So again, with the sync knob, way too shiny. I mean, obviously it's accurate to the real found part being that shiny, but it was just way too shiny. Especially for Chronicles, I feel like it was kind of wore. So I tried to imitate that. So a lot of this is the same theme, but when I spray, I didn't tape anything off, and I just cleared the whole, I matte cleared the whole prop. So as well as the clamp I got on the sync knob, and then I knocked back the matte clear, and it is a nice effect of like chrome plating wear. You can see on the cap here, you can see the wear that I kind of tried to make natural. So I knocked it back with some steel wool. Honestly, that's probably my favorite thing I did on this prop, is how that turned out. I feel like that really turned out as it should have been in terms of how it looks. And then I did some acrylic paint that I knocked back, so I kind of dimple painted it on and then wiped it away. So it just, I don't know, I don't think I could recreate that if I tried. I mean, I probably could, obviously, but it just turned out great. And then you have your marking on the pommel in line with how it is on the one photo with the transistors. So that's another accuracy detail there with the marking. And then as well as the D-ring is clocked, because there's the one picture is kind of like this, where the bubble strip is almost like, it's kind of like that on the photo, kind of like that in a way, I guess. So then this is clocked correct with the D-ring in the position, as well as the weld, and then in line with all the other parts going down with the welds here and the dimple. But obviously this will move, so you just, I mean, I guess if you do photos, you just want it in the right position to be accurate. But yeah, guys, I had a really fun time weathering this, and it was more or less for the experience of doing it and showing my ability in terms of weathering. It really was fun. It was fun, tedious but rewarding, because I wanted to nail this prop the best of my ability. So just more or less the experience and the knowledge, add this prop to the portfolio of ones that I can do. Now, if you are curious, this is for sale. That was my intent with this prop, is I was going to buy it, finish it, and sell it. So if you are interested in this prop, you can DM me on Instagram at StrikebackProps. If you're curious on price, I'm asking $800 for this hilt, just based on what I paid for it and the weathering. and it's a rare piece. I haven't really seen many. Actually, it's funny because when I did see this come up for sale, I saw a few and then they sold instantly. So this is weathered by me to Dave Parkin. I did the weathering. It was sent to me. I got it clean. So I did all the weathering on it. But this is a Dave Parkin kit, everything but the transistors. So just one thing to take note on that. But yeah, guys, like I said, I'm really really happy on how this turned out, and just the experience that I've gotten from it and the knowledge in terms of how to weather these, and just the process of me doing it really speaks volumes. So I hope you guys like my rendition of the Chronicles Obi-Wan. I hope it passes some approval in terms of the accuracy on it. But yeah, and if anyone is curious, I would like to start doing some commissions here. If anyone would want to send me some items to commission. But like I said, I just want to do that for that cause. But yeah, if you guys have any questions on any commissions based on this prop, let me know. Like if you have a Romans or anything like me to assist you with that, I'd be more than happy. But if any questions, if you need something like that, or if you're interested in this specific prop, just send me a DM at Strikeback Props on Instagram, and I'll be sure to help you guys out. But all right, guys, well, stay tuned. I have more in the works. This is just one video I wanted to upload because this has been done for a while. I just had some free time today, so I hope you guys enjoyed how this turned out. So anyway, have a good day, guys, and take care.